All right. Well, welcome to the Esports Classroom Podcast. This is a little project I'm doing just where I interview esports coaches from across the country, just talking about what's going on in their programs, how they got started, and all that information that goes with that. So this is actually our first episode with the guests, and so thank you, Lauren, for joining us. I'm
Hi.
going to let you introduce yourself, where you're from, your school, how big of a city you're in, all that fun stuff. But Lauren is also a member of the Iowa High School Esports Association, so another Iowan who competes in our state league.
Yeah. So my name is Lauren James. I am originally from Des Moines, but I work at Dike Hartford High School. It is a pretty small school outside, or I should say, west of the Cedar Falls School District, like Waterloo. We serve around 1,000 kids district wide, so we're pretty small in that capacity, but we are small and mighty. And yeah, that's like Patrick had said. I'm also part of the Iowa High School Esports Association. I'm the current vice president, but I have been president in the past as well. So we got pretty deep ties to esports.
How long have you been in your program? How long has the program been around at your school?
So for Dike New Hartford in particular, we are one of the like OG five schools that had joined at the very beginning of the Iowa High School Esports Association. So around 5, 6 years at that point. We had played like 1 year before that, before I had even joined the school in HSCL, which is a paid league that they played Overwatch basically, and it was a good time. But when we got into the IHSCA, it was like a lot more local. It was better competition, things like that. But the Dike New Hartford in particular, about 5, 6 years. When I first started at Dike New Hartford, basically the first day where we got to go and talk to all the freshmen about like, hi, I'm this teacher and stuff like that. My counterpart, Aaron, was a math teacher at Dike, was like, hey, I'm the math teacher, but I also coach esports. And then it kind of came down to me and I was like, Aaron, if you ever want help, like that sounds fantastic. And it just kind of blew up from there. And now I'm the sole head coach and the designated esports coordinator at the school. So it's been great.
About how many kids do you have playing and how many titles do you guys played in a year?
So we have kind of a rotating around 50 kids that come in and out. Again, Dyke New Harvard's not super huge, so it's a lot of those kids kind of play dual sports or they play multiple titles throughout the year, but are rotating like 50 kids. We currently offer 6 titles. We're hoping to maybe add a seventh, but I am the only person, so we'll see how much the bandwidth can. But we currently play like in this season right now, we're playing Super Smash Brothers and Rainbow Six Siege. In the winter, we will get back on to Overwatch 2 and hopefully go back to Rocket League. You and I have kind of a Rocket League connection, but
Yep.
fingers crossed my I have enough kids. And then in the spring we'll play Valorant and 100% Mario Kart. We are now adding Marvel Rivals as well, so we'll see. I'm a big Marvel Rivals person, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I know I have a lot of interest in that. And the funny thing is, even though Ames is a much bigger district,
Yep.
we have about the same number of kids in the
Yep.
program. And I'm also nervous about Rocket League right now. I think I have enough kids interested. The
We
survey
both had
went
a lot of
out.
seniors graduate, so I need some of them freshmen to
Yeah.
step up.
I got double digit seniors in a year is
Yeah.
rough. I mean, I'm sure everybody sees that in other activities and other sports, but especially in esports, where our numbers aren't that great to begin with. Um, so you did mention Rainbow Six. So that
Yeah.
is one title that I know in a lot of schools in Iowa. It's yes or no, like a lot
Yep.
of schools. So how did you get your school board or your administration on board with a mature rated title? Because it is pretty much the mature rated title that's in our rotation.
Yes. I had to do a very at the very beginning, we had to do kind of a lot of back and forth work because our community, especially like, 5 years ago when this was first starting, like right at the beginning, like 2019, pre-pandemic almost, our community was not really on board with the mature titles and things. It was really hard or kind of a tough conversation, kind of back and forth between myself and my administration to offer that opportunity. The terms and conditions that we kind of came to over time was that they didn't want to take away another opportunity from students, especially once they saw the value of esports and the
Yep.
kids that they were reaching and like how it was impacting the school culture as a whole. Because Dike New Hartford is super big on school culture and community outreach. So once they saw that that was having a positive impact, the conversation changed a little bit. But the agreement that we've kind of come to is that although we can do the mature title, we can't stream it just so that, Dike New Hartford and Rainbow Six Siege isn't consistently kind of on that same platform
Yep.
socially. We invite all people to come into the lab during those days if they want to. Parents are always welcome to come into the lab, other students, administration, things like that. But we just don't stream it or put it on kind of a public platform as part of those kind of terms and conditions. I also have the kids sign a thing at the beginning of the year that says, like, hey, I understand that I'm playing a mature title within the school system. Their parents have to sign it, things like that. And that's kind of the agreement that we've come to. But it really is like once the administration figured out like, oh, esports is actually like really helping these kids in a positive way, they didn't want to take away another opportunity for them
Yep.
versus like keeping it in place with conditions.
I mean, the kids are playing the games at home anyway, so why not play in the
Exactly.
school environment?
Oh, don't get me on my soapbox, Patrick.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like one reason why I don't have practice every day is because I know they're going to go home and play anyways, so I don't want them to burn out.
Yeah.
So let's talk about practice a little bit. So, how do you run your practices? What are the big things that you do when your kids are practicing?
So being a solo person as well, I think changes the conversation a little bit. If I had like another co-coach or an assistant coach or something like that, then I think it would be a little bit different. But how we run our practices is every title, like we're playing two titles right now, every title gets 1 day of practice, 1 day of play. And we use that like 2 to 3 hours of practice time. We try to split it up evenly amongst just straight up play time, but also just as you would see in like traditional sports, VOD review and like getting down to business in terms of the game plan. Like today, I had Rainbow Six practice today. We got a pretty big matchup tomorrow versus New London. So we spent a lot of time like VOD reviewing and figuring out what our pushes and what our setups are going to look like. But then a majority of the time spent just like running it through, right? You can talk all you want, but you got to
Yep.
actually do it, right? So practices are split up between some VOD review, some like team captain hype up sessions is kind of what we call it. Like, what are we focusing on? What are the positives? What are some things we need to improve? And then just straight up playtime between varsity versus JV, or just kind of mixing those groups together so that everybody has an opportunity to learn.
And as time of recording this, you're going to week 6 matchup. For those who don't
Yep.
know, we pretty much have a 8 week season, but really it's 7 games.
Yeah.
Week 8, which is a nice little buffer there, because I know there's a couple games I'm looking at for my Smash team that we won't see till week 8 for
Yes.
them. That may determine our playoffs or not.
Mm-hmm.
What are those big things that you're just trying to get kids to learn when you're practicing? What are those like the core principles they're learning?
I want to the best of my ability, kind of instill the same practices that I had in traditional sports in them. One of the big things, especially from like a practice aspect of things, is resiliency. That things are not always going to go your way, and truly that motto of like practice makes perfect. That if you want to better yourself for the competition next week or this week, or even 3, 4, 7 weeks next year, you have to put in that work and have to keep that mindset of resiliency upheld, because the moment that you shut down or the moment that you think like, well, I can't do it and it's not working that way, it's just going to lead you down kind of a negative path. So one of the big things that I try and push, especially as somebody who doesn't necessarily play the games that they do all the time, especially like this season, Rainbow Six Siege and Super Smash Brothers, not really my jam. I'm waiting for
Yep.
Overwatch season. So especially somebody who maybe doesn't know the game as well as them, like they're the content experts at that point. So keeping those things in mind that like I had when I was in traditional sports in high school, of resiliency, camaraderie, communication tactics, being a good teammate, positive atmosphere. Those are the things that I can bring to that as a coach, that even though they're the content expert, that's what I can bring to them and make sure that they are executing before game day. Because as soon as you do that during practice, it's going to transfer over to game day.
Yeah, I definitely agree, especially because again, I think most of us coaches will say that we're not the experts at all the
Yeah.
games. Like I know anytime I've had to do our live stream for Overwatch, I have no idea the characters' names. I'm like the hamster ball dude. He's going there.
Yeah.
I can't remember the names. I don't play it enough. Marvel Rivals, you mentioned that earlier. Like that's a game I know I have a lot of kids interested in. It's a keyboard and mouse game. I'm a controller player. I know it's not
Me
the best,
too.
but
Justice for controller players,
yeah,
Patrick.
but having to play that game, I need to get some hours in because, even though I have another coach, like we get to the spring, we may have 3 titles
Yep.
and 2 people, 3 titles. And I've been the solo coach before, even with 2 titles. And it is tough just because there's only so many hours in a day, and it's not like we're getting paid a ton of money to do this for
Yeah.
the most part, or getting paid at all in some cases. What are some of those biggest obstacles you've kind of run into in your program or with students?
Yeah. I would say The current problem that I'm dealing with, or the current thing that I'm kind of struggling with, is not necessarily turnover, but consistency of I have, as you probably have experienced as well, I have a lot of seniors this year. And
Yep.
so once they all graduate, keeping the same level of success that we're going to have with new kids and just kind of recruitment of new freshmen and eighth graders and things like that. Although we do have a middle school league that kind of runs concurrently to the high school league, I just don't have a person that is willing to
Yep.
kind of introduce that in the middle school level. So it makes it kind of difficult, especially when, again, very small school district, you're fighting up against kind of all of these other traditional sports as well. We just introduced dual sporting, which has helped out a little bit in terms of like, some football players that really want to do siege, they can at least come in and practice and stuff.
Yep.
But that's one of the big issues that I'm kind of pushing up against right now is retention, getting the same amount of kids, or I should say that rotating 50, keeping it at like that rotating 50 as times change and games change and groups of kids change. The other thing that I would say is kind of a more ongoing struggle that we always deal with is kind of the classic, like, well, I signed up for esports, but you're telling me I can't just goof around for 3 hours on the computer. There's actual structure and like things
Yep.
that have to happen. Like, yeah, it is like this is competition, kind of that idea of, or I should say, instilling that idea in kids that like this isn't just a 3 hour daycare. This is competition. You are working towards a goal as a team to bring success to the school. This isn't just, well, I don't have a computer at home, so I'm going to play here for 3 hours. So that's
Yep.
one thing that, like, especially with new freshmen or people who kind of roll in, maybe not on a season basis, or maybe they only play one thing, kind of getting them back into that mindset of like, nah, that's not how this is gonna work, my friend.
Yeah. It's very different than just playing at home in your basement. You gotta come here and
Yeah,
you have to talk right. You have to work together.
yeah,
If it was just
and
playing video games, it wouldn't be
yeah, and that's
esports.
like, and I still think that's extremely important, right? Like you mentioned earlier, we've mentioned it a couple of times, like they're gonna play it at home anyway.
Yep.
Why not get them out of that realm of, in their basement by themselves in the dark, and put them into that environment in which they can make connections and build camaraderie and things like that. But just getting it into their head of like, that's what we're here to do. We're not here to just goof around for 3 hours or whatever the case may be. We're here to build a system and build a team and succeed together.
Yep.
Yeah,
You're building that culture, which is hopefully
yeah,
going to continue on, which, yeah, the turnover thing is real. It's nice. I know I have some Smash kids who were here last year. I have some brand new. I have a brand new senior. But
yeah.
then I got the incoming freshman. So it's very interesting. I got some juniors that are like, oh, I didn't know we had this. I'm like,
Oh
how?
yeah.
I have signs up. We have banners up. I control the email. I send it out. But yeah, I guess.
I
Um,
mean, one of my best seniors that I have right now that's on my varsity smash team didn't join until last year, like halfway through last year,
yep.
because he was like a football manager, and then he kind of stopped doing that. He's like, I don't really feel like doing that anymore. And now he's like, we're talking to colleges, we're talking scholarships and stuff like that because he just
Yep.
invested into it and he's part of that culture.
Yeah. I think I got a couple kids on board with that. I have one kid who's going to college playing golf, but he's also doing esports right now. So
Yeah.
that's kind of a great thing. Um, Challenges aside, what are the biggest wins or the biggest positives, the things you are so happy, the reason why you did esports?
I would say, I mean, other than the actual like wins, right? Wins
Yeah.
feel good. Like a couple of years ago, we got third at state for Rocket League, and like that win in that match versus Oakwood, like that feels pretty good, right?
Yeah.
But some of the other kind of day-to-day successes is like the praises that I get from my coworkers and things, like when those cool opportunities show up. So like for example, these last couple of weeks we've been really swamped with like some tournaments and some college visits and things like that. Some of those small successes kind of on a daily basis of just kind of praises from administration or from coworkers of like, man, you're really doing right by these kids. Like you guys,
Yeah.
you're setting something up so that they have like a future ahead of them. But the other thing that I would say is um, one of the big things that I press, and I'm totally like, I'm proud of it, right? Is that our club and our culture includes a lot of kids that are not involved in anything else.
Yep.
And giving a kid just something that they can be a part of so that they can kind of feel bigger than themselves when they've never had that before is a really fulfilling part of the job, right?
Yep.
Like there are plenty of kids that I've seen throughout these 5, 6 years that I've been doing this that they wouldn't be in the position that they are now without the esports club. Whether it's like they didn't care a lick about their grades until I started making them care about their grades, whether it was that they really didn't have a friend group. Like a lot of my seniors, I don't want to tear up or anything, but
Yeah.
a lot of my seniors would have never been friends with each other if it wasn't for that group and spending time with each other and things like that. And now, like, they're talking about rooming together and going to college together. Like, those kind of small successes on a daily basis where I can look at those kids and I'm like, you would be in a completely different spot if you weren't with us right now. And I'm very, very happy that you're here.
Yep. Uh, I think I can say I've seen a lot of that too, but it's great when you see the kids find a home at
Yeah.
esports and actually find a place at school they feel welcomed.
Yeah.
Um, I think that helps them go beyond. I mean, because again, those social skills they're going to learn that maybe they didn't get to learn elsewhere, they're going to stick. No matter what, yeah, they got better at the video game, but they're going to be a better person when they leave esports,
Yep.
or at least we hope. Um,
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to share about your program or about esports? You know,
I can shameless plug the Iowa High School Esports
yep,
Association. I very much agree, or I should say, as I mentioned earlier, like our club used to run under HSCL, which is a paid league. There's nothing wrong with HSCL or other leagues of the sort, but getting into the Iowa High School Esports Association and just being a part of it, whether as a coach or a student, I've seen a lot of just positive impact. We're
yep,
150 plus schools deep. We're almost a third of Iowa taken, under our wing basically, and um, all of the stories and all of the successes that I'm sharing are also some of the successes that other schools in the league have shared as well. State days, you've been there. They're
yep,
chaotic, but they're fun, and it's just a really great league to be a part of. So, shameless plug: if you have a school that is looking to join in Iowa, we are DMs are always open. We can discuss, but otherwise, just my life would be very, very different without esports, and I'm just kind of glad
yep.
that I reached out 5 years ago.
Yeah, I do love the fact that we're, like we get to compete against our neighboring towns. We get those
Yes.
like rivalries. Like I still have bitter feelings towards Marshalltown after our
Yeah.
first Mario Kart season at Ames. I like being able to play Nevada, who's just down the road
Yep.
from us, but my former school. So I get to go against some of my former, not anymore, none of my former
Yep.
players are there. But yeah, no, the state league I think has been great. I love when we get to go to the state tournament. We've been able to go to state tournaments more often than not, so I think
Yeah.
that's a good sign. But it's always a great day for them, especially because they get to see all the colleges that are there, and that's just opens a whole new thing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so well, thank you for joining us. I wanted to focus on Iowa first because I think we have a great league in Iowa. I think we have so many great coaches. I think we have so many great programs. So thank you, Lauren, for sharing that. And I hope everyone else will join us on future episodes. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.